Hello and welcome in again to Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm your host, Rick Couri. Welcome back for show number 2. We're going to be previewing a lot of things, including football today, from places like Central and McLain. We're going to talk volleyball with the folks over at Memorial. We even have an official here with us to talk about not only officiating in Oklahoma, but how many officials are needed in Oklahoma. And one of the bosses is here, Dr. Kathy Dodd, here as well from Tulsa Public Schools, as well as Mick Wilson, the athletic director at TPS. All coming up today, right here on Inside Tulsa Athletics. Welcome to another edition of Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm Rick Couri, your host, and I am pleased to be joined by the man who runs the athletic department at Central. When I say run it, I'm talking about the AD and the head football coach, Kip Shaw. All right, so that's a lot to take on for any one person, Kip. How in the world do you manage?
Time management, it does. It gets overwhelming on some days. I tell you, it's a task because I'm also the dean of culture and climate, which is kind of a fancy way to say behavior and discipline. But it has its days, but it's enjoyable. You get to help a lot of student athletes out. And that's what this is all about.
Is there a time though when those two jobs, they can kind of intersect each other, right? And so you're trying to do one on the other and one on the one, and does that ever happen?
They intersect a lot. The good thing is I have two good assistant athletic directors that'll help me, and Chuck Cobbins and Ashton Blake. They kind of run things while I'm dealing with football issues. But there are times where I have to get involved, and it kind of pulls me away from football to handle things. But I have great assistant coaches who they know if I'm not at practice, they know the routine, they get practice started, so we don't miss a beat.
And at times, there's probably some good to that too, is that, maybe one thing is a little bit cumbersome at one day and you just want to do the other for a while. I mean, it might actually help some, huh?
There are those days, exactly. I'm able to kind of push the AD stuff to the side, just concentrate on football, which is kind of my outlet. And there are days when I can trust them to run my football program, and I can handle the AD paperwork and things that need to go with that to make sure we have everything in line with what the district expects.
When you talk about Central, I mean, growing up as a TPS kid who played at Nathan Hale and played against Central and, several of schools like that, I know the history there. Not everybody does. It's been around a long time. Do you get into that with your players and your students at all?
I do. We talk about it. Not being from Tulsa, I have those conversations where I've tried to learn about Central more and get it to our kids in general, because we have to do better with school pride and things like that. And them knowing what their history is and what it's come to and where we are today helps them to understand a little bit better about Central High School.
We ask every coach here how numbers have been, and they fluctuate a good deal. Some good, some not so good. What's it like with you guys?
For us, it's been pretty good this year. We've actually got 43 kids on our roster. We're kind of sophomore heavy this year ourselves. We're a young team, but these guys are competing. We always lose a couple, but this year we haven't lost any that, have taken it seriously and really wanted to be there and be held accountable. So our numbers are really good.
And, now that you've had a couple of weeks to look at your team, and everybody thinks they know what they have coming in, right? But you're not quite sure. What do you think?
I think we're young. I think these first 3 games have taught me, where we are. We're really, really athletic, but our kids still have some of that stuff in them that, they need to grow with, mental toughness, and realize that you can't always be a front runner in a football game. But they play hard. Some of them just go out there and you can tell they're trying to run through a brick wall for you and give you what you're asking for. But then there's that little bit of football IQ that we have to get better in all of them. So that just comes with coaching, and lucky for me, I got a good staff and they get that done.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's something I say to my wife almost every weekend when I'm watching TV is what happened to football IQ? It does seem like maybe there are times when younger players don't have as much of that as people did at another time, and I'm not sure why. Do you find that?
I do. I find it, and I think one of the things is we try and get these young people to specialize too early, where when probably you and I were coming up, you played different positions. You knew what the other position was supposed to do. So you knew how it related to this play or that play and what was going on. And that's a thing where we've gotten better about the way we teach our kids to make them understand you're doing this because this person's doing this and that person's doing that. But I think our football IQ, basketball IQ, I talked to Coach Bo, it's all suffering if we don't go back to teaching them the overall of the game.
Yeah, and the basics. And so you've got to split that practice time up, don't you? There's so much you have to do when you scout, but you still have to be going out and teaching tackling and, things like that.
Absolutely. You have to work on the techniques every week. And we devote 10 minutes each day in practice. Our first 2 periods are just technique work, trying to make sure we keep that brushed up. And then we get into, okay, what do they do? What do they do? And this is how we're going to attack it. And it seemed to have helped us. It seemed, we've gotten better. We've taken our lumps a couple of weeks. We played a great McLain team and Memorial was good. And then we played Booker T. But the kids are learning from it. And so I think they're ready for district play.
Is there a time when you see that light come on when you're in a meeting or something?
It is. And you can, even when you're talking to them and they kind of repeat something back to you that you've told them in practice or something that they understand. I had one of them tell me that today that he finally realizes what I mean when I'm preaching responsibility to him. And so, those things are big to a coach when he hears that.
And this is a guy from West Virginia. So, he knows what he's talking about, right? He's got a little mountaineer in his blood. You miss it?
I miss it all the time. I need the snow and the mountains back all the time, but my wife ain't gonna let me.
Almost heaven. Kip, thanks very much for coming up.
I appreciate it. Good to meet you, and I enjoyed this. Thank you guys for having me.
That is Kip Shaw from Central High School, the athletic director and the head football coach. Back with more in a moment right here on Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Hey Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is facing off against one tough competitor, glass.
That's right, only glass bottles and jars are recyclable. Don't even think about sinking a drink in glass or mirror. Always good to empty your glass bottles and jars before recycling.
These two get it, emptying both bottles from far out, and they remove the lids. Score big by recycling your glass bottles and jars. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
I feel like athletics is so important at Tulsa Central because it's an outlet for some of our kids there. They get a better opportunity to basically give back to our community.
At McLain, the sports is what mainly drives a bunch of the students to come to school every single day and work hard because they want to be able to come from the classroom to the field or the court and show at what they're good at.
We're back on Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm your host, Rick Couri, and I'm happy to be joined now by the athletic director from McLain High School. You're looking at Jamar Louie. First of all, I've always loved the logo. That's a sweet logo. It's McLain Science and Tech, too, by the way, right?
Yes, sir. It is.
I am familiar with McLain from my 70s playing days and the fantastic players that have run through. And you guys have had a heck of a start in football, haven't you?
Yes, we're off to a 2-1 start. We have, a few transfers that came into our team that's been very helpful. We're young and still growing, so the sky's the limit for our team.
You mentioned transfers. This is a time when that happens a lot more often than it used to. How do you handle it? Do you tell me for instance, how you find out about it? You're just at work one day and somebody goes, hey, this kid came, this kid left.
In most instances, since the school years began, it's been more along those lines, like, hey, but there were a lot of stipulations with the rule. So a lot of students had already transferred prior to the school year because they needed to be input before the July 1 deadline in between July 1st and July 15th. So they had to be either enrolled at McLain or on the waiting list. So we kind of knew going into the school year who we would have before.
You think that's going to settle any, or do you expect it's going to continue to be like this?
I definitely expect it to be similar to the Wild Wild West, I think that student athletes want to have the best opportunity for themselves, and sometimes the current school that they're at doesn't fit what their dreams or their goals.
But you guys have a lot to offer at McLain. Explain some of the things the school has as being a science and tech that you just might not be able to get somewhere else.
So we have opportunities for dual accreditation at Tulsa Community College. We have accreditation opportunities with Tulsa Tech. We actually have a Tulsa Tech class within our building. Mr. Aller is our teacher of record for that class, and he does a wonderful job of just teaching them about, robotics and different aspects of technology. We also offer students the opportunity to go to Tulsa Tech, which is located just down less than a mile away from McLain, where you can do hairstylist, barber school, construction, welding. So it's plenty of opportunities for students.
So when you mention students and matching something, you can maybe sometimes reach out, or not reach out, but when students want to come to you, have something that maybe they can't find.
Definitely. That's actually one of our, the things that we promote to try to get students to come to McLain, those opportunities, because like you said, a lot of schools don't offer those Tulsa technology classes within their building, or just that opportunity for students.
What are some of the biggest challenges facing athletic directors overall in high schools these days?
I think it's, most athletic directors are going to want a level playing field. And I know with this, it feels like you're almost a general manager for an NFL team, because, if a student sees that it looks good over there, they can be like, hey, well, I'm going to leave McLain and go over there. So it's I think it's more dealing with the recruitment aspect now, what it seems to be with the new rule.
And as we move forward, it's like you said, it's going to maintain that way. So have you come up with a kind of a balance for yourself about how you handle it?
I think personally, as far as being the athletic director for McLain, if a student chooses to leave McLain and they want to participate at another school, I think they should be given the opportunity, and we're willing to sign off for them, because we want to see them succeed if they felt like they couldn't do it with us. And I think the more that athletic directors get on that same page, it's about the student rather than the coaches and how we feel. I think that it would be more productive for the student athletes.
What made you want to be an AD?
Well, one, it was an opportunity. I think secondly, especially at McLain, being there since 2012, it just has a place in my heart. And I knew that with Coach Johnson retiring, he kind of took me through how to be the AD. Mm-hmm. And then, I enjoy the aspects of it. So I wanted to take it over for our school to make sure that all of our programs have that same enthusiasm and that same passion about, just wanting to get the athletes out there and the love of the game, pretty much.
And remember what McLain has been in its past and can be again, right? I mean, that's, again, a great history.
Yes, sir. And I do want to say our alumni have done a great job of coming back and just talking to our kids and just being there for, like Josh Jacobs, for instance, the all-pro running back for Green Bay. He's been back like the whole summer with our guys, just talking to our kids, working out in our facilities. So that's just something that we want to promote, because we want to continue to have that tradition at McLain.
And he says he's been there since 2012, so apparently he started when he was about 10. Thank you very much for coming up here. I appreciate that. That's the athletic director at McLain High School. That is Jamar Louie. Back with more soon right here on Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Hey Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is facing off against a tough competitor, plastic.
Don't trust those numbers on the bottom. You have to stick to what you know. Only bottles and jugs found in the kitchen, bath, or laundry. They're quick to pick up. And empty those bottles before sinking that shot.
Always empty your bottles before recycling. Score big by recycling your plastic bottles and jugs. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Nathan Hales means that you have to be consistent, outgoing, and be dedicated, because students at Nathan Hale look up to the football team.
Being an athlete at Nathan Hale has taught me to be confident and disciplined, and always to be open-minded and always ready to work with people, no matter how difficult it is.
We're back with more Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm your host, Rick Couri, and we've got another guest from McLain High School. We have the head football coach, Milton Harper, off to a really good start at 2-1. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What is your team doing really well for you right now?
The main thing the kids are doing right now, they're buying in. They're buying into what me and the coaches have instilled in the program. So they're buying in. That's something big to happen at McLain.
Well, and when you say buy-in, everybody has a program. Everybody has a way they like to do things. Players sometimes may see their talents a little differently. How do you handle that, trying to massage people into what you want to do?
Well, number one thing is we just start building off their character, finding the bad traits that they have and making them change it, Not saying being picky though, but we be picky on certain things that they do. And then they see when they buy in and do the right things and they see the outcome that comes with it, makes them believe more. So them are the little things that we had started with, to help us be 2-1 right now.
They always say you can coach a team harder when they do realize something is right. Do you find that to be the case?
Oh, yeah, I believe that can happen, so the more they know what should be right, the more harder we can coach them.
When you have a player who wants to do a certain thing, wants to play a certain position, for instance, if you got a guy like me and I wanted to play corner, it's not going to happen, right? So how do you have conversations like that, and how do you get them to understand, hey, look, here's what's best for you if I move you over here?
It's just like you want to say, just be realistic with them, So if you say, for instance, if I'm the one that want to be a right tackle, I'm only right at 200 pounds. And if you want a college coach to come see what's best for you, if you want to go play at a higher level, you need to listen to your coaches. They got your best interests, the ones that's talking to these college coaches. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's what everybody wants, to go to that next level and then to that next level, and everybody wants to play in the NFL and make millions of dollars. Who wouldn't, right? But when you've got kids who are doing certain things just to get noticed by colleges, that's got to be something you have to manage too, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, you have to manage it. They have to do the whole work of everything, not just to get noticed right now. You got to do your grades, okay? If you don't have your grades, you don't play, So with us, we do a weekly progress report for these kids to stay on top of their grades, because at the end of the day, say, for instance, you don't make this qualifying or having the right grades to go to this school, you might have to go JUCO, So the main thing is grades that they need to have too.
How many kids come in and ask you about NIL?
Oh, it's a low number here at McLain though, but I have seen kids talk about it before. But NIL is that's a huge change that happened to football.
Oh, it did, but it's going to get a lot of their attention too.
Yes,
they'll look and they'll see, some of the numbers that are out there in college football. Well, that's where they start to put their visions and things like that. You got to kind of keep that attention away from that and back on the game, right?
Right. You have to, because at the same time, they trying to go to a higher level. They need to be playing football. You can't be playing money. We're not playing money or these incentives. You got to play you got to have all the right credentials to go out there on the field and play some football.
Now we're getting into district play in high school football. Seems, boy, it went fast too, didn't it? Going from that week 0
very
to now.
fast, very fast
to get there. Is your team about where you thought they'd be? A little behind? Are you happy with where they are going to district play?
Right now, I'm pretty happy with where we at right now. We didn't know what type of season we will be having. We always have great visions. Every coach have a great vision, and every coach can be real with themselves too. So right now we're at I would say we're pretty happy right now. We have a big game. We have Ada. That's a big football town of history.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a bye weekend right now. So right now we're preparing for Ada, and let's see how we can do. That's our goal.
I'm glad you mentioned bye weekend too, because a lot of teams are having those right before district.
Yes.
You don't want to back off too much, but you want to give them a little bit of a break. How do you handle it?
It's good. You at this time you take it getting healthy. Get more in the playbooks, knock out some good grades, so you want eligibility won't be a problem for district, to going into district, especially having big games for district though. But you still practice, you practice hard, you do good, but you take a little bit of time off of that help.
And that helps them too, because they get a little more excited with a little bit of time off there as well. Yeah. Do you talk to them about this being season 2, if you will, with district play?
A little bit. Well, just because, the main thing is to, stay on top of the district, so our goal is to, finish strong. I want to see where we at least by week 3 in district, so now I know if we are a heavily competitive championship team or, we still trying to win one game at a time.
If I were to say to you right now, you could make your team better in one place right now today, where would you make them better?
I would say overall, finishing the games. That's our big thing. I got to get them to believe of just finishing the game, playing 4 full quarters. Some will go out there, we'll score 14-0, and they'll celebrate and act like the game is over.
Sure.
And another team can just come right back out at a halftime and take it to you. So I want to be able to finish the game and don't let off.
Yeah, and there's difference between doing it with celebration or doing it because you're tired. But when it's good that you're ahead.
Right.
How do you push that message?
After every play, hey, we got to keep it going. I push out, keep it going. Game's not over until the final, the final clock is at 0. So I got to keep pushing it out.
Well, ours is almost there as well. Milton, thank you for coming up.
All right,
I
thank you
appreciate it.
again.
Continued good luck to to McLain, Science
yes,
and Technology. I just went back to my playing days again. Back with more in a moment right here at Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Hey, Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is looking to defend their title against aluminum and steel cans.
Bob, most people think of the kitchen for this opponent, but aluminum and steel cans, like empty shaving cream cans, also play extremely well in bathrooms all over Tulsa. That was nothing but bin, Bob.
Wow, right into the bin. Team Johnson has buttoned up another win. Score big by recycling your aluminum and steel cans. Learn more at tulsarecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Edison High School has taught me to work as a team rather than as an individual. Whenever you're on a team, you have a special bond with each other. You know you can rely on them in a time of need, whether on or off the court. Whether it be a shoulder to cry on or advice on how you can improve, you know your team will always be there for you.
It's time for more Inside Tulsa Athletics. Rick Couri, your host, again with you, and I'm joined by the athletic director from Rogers High School. It is William Coleman. How you doing?
Hello, how you doing?
Why is it all the athletic directors these days look like they're 10? How long have you been doing this job?
Man, I've been doing this job for about 15 years. So I just drink a lot of water, take my sea moss, and being around these kids keep me youthful. And so actually I'm 42 years old. A lot of times I get mistaken for a young 20-year-old athletic director, but I'm actually 42.
Now, you had me there. I mean, there was no question. There's no question I didn't think you were 42 years old. All right, so tell me something you really enjoy about this job. If you've had it for a while, you obviously like it.
Yeah. So this job, it gives me an opportunity to be a leader amongst a group of young ladies and young men, and also peers, coaches. But here at Rogers, I'm able to be over 33 athletic programs, and I find a lot of joy being a leader of a middle school and high school.
Mm-hmm. All right, and a place where not long ago got its own stadium, which, boy, for anybody growing up in TPS, that was a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. The new stadium is very beautiful. We just opened up our visitor side concession stands and restrooms and ticket gate. Yes, it's very, very beautiful place to coach and be athletic director at.
And in other words, as we say with all the TPS schools, some really great history.
Yes, there's a lot of history, and that's one of my goals as athletic director is to bring the history to light of Rogers. Even today, I have a meeting with the foundation in the Booster Club, and to get my ideas out there to them that I want to celebrate their history.
And how do you do that? I mean, they're great players who come through. They're the Dave Raiders of the world and that kind of guy. Do you have those players back? Do you try to? Do you talk to people across sports?
Yes, they come back. We celebrating the 85th anniversary of Rogers this year. We had events last week where we had assembly. October 4th, we have for our game against Collegeville, we're celebrating their classes. And yes, they come back and they donate, they meet with us, they help with campaigns. Right now we're launching a brick campaign to help our athletic booster club. So,
you mentioned getting a chance to work with students and with coaches. And one of the hardest things for an athletic director to do is hire and fire coaches.
Yes.
Something you have to do sometimes, and sometimes it's more often than not, it's just somebody leaves and you're replacing them. But you've got to have a constant list. How in the world do you keep up with it?
So, I mean, it's all about building relationships, joining like my athletic director association groups, just being in the know, social media, and just having communication to the coaching world, and once again, it's really just building a relationship with coaches and over the years, and whenever positions come up wherever I'm at, coach is always willing to say, hey, I didn't know you was over here at Rogers. I'm interested to come over to Rogers with you, and that's how a lot of times I get to hire a lot of my coaches is because I past relationships.
Do you keep a list though? I mean, do you have a list of 5 or 6 deep or whatever for positions?
Yes, I have a list, and also our district athletic directors, Crystal and Mick, they have a list, and they also support with hiring coaches that they may know also.
Those are difficult decisions sometimes, but happy decisions sometimes as well.
Yes, absolutely, because I mean, you give them coaches opportunities to come to a great school like Rogers to coach. Once again, we have a lot of great history. We have new facilities, basketball, football, and like we want to grow our program. So hiring the best coaches out there, you know, we always got to keep that line of communication open.
What's your biggest challenge right now?
My biggest challenge right now is, you know, is moving the needle for all 33 programs. You know, like I said, I have between middle school and high school. For me, you know, it's just working on improving our appearance. That's buying new uniforms, equipment. Not too much fundraising is not one of my difficult tasks as most athletic director. It will be because I have a wonderful foundation and also a booster club that helps raise money for our programs. And that's one of the beautiful things at Rogers is the support I receive from the Alumni Foundation.
But that's got to really help because no matter what you do, at the end of the day, it's a money game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a money game. That's how you know, you can you know, attract coaches to come. You know, when they come over and see the new press box and the coaching facility areas and whatnot, that always help to entice them.
Do you have a goal? I mean, do you want to be a college AD one day? You like where you are? You want mixed jobs someday? What are you doing?
Absolutely. You know, one day, you know, whenever he's ready to give it up, but he's doing a wonderful job grooming all of athletic directors, you know, being a leader for us. But my goal one day really just to have a legacy as an athletic director, if it's in high school, college. But for me, I want to be a Hall of Fame athletic director. So it's just really just, you know, finding my niche at a school like at Rogers and keep on building and moving the needle to excellence.
So that gets you up every day, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
William, thank you very much for your time. It's been great to meet you. He is the athletic director at Rogers High School. He is William Coleman. Back with more Inside Tulsa Athletics right after this.
Hey, Tulsa, we have a crushing recycle play of the day for you. Team Johnson versus paper and cardboard.
They're starting off slow today, probably trying to figure out what to do with those styrofoam plates since they're not recyclable.
There's the big play we were waiting for. Boom! Completely empty cardboard boxes dunked in the cart. Score big by recycling your cardboard and paper. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Booker T. Washington has taught me to carry myself with class as an athlete, student, and friend, and to have responsibility on and off the field, and that it's the littlest things that will make all the difference in the long run.
Being an athlete at Memorial High School has taught me to be a better person because when you play sports, attitude is the main thing you have to deal with, not just your own, but other people's. It also teaches you to be the bigger person.
We're back again on Inside Tulsa Athletics. I am Rick Couri. I am your host, and this lovely lady to my left is Audra Estrada. She is the volleyball coach at Memorial High School. I'm not going to tell you exactly what she just told me off the air, but maybe we'll get into it a little bit later on. But welcome, and thank you very much. And you know, you're the second volleyball coach we've had, and I'm going to ask you something I asked the first coach. Do you get any attention extra to your sport because the Olympics just passed?
A little bit. You get more interest from the kids. Once school started, I've had a lot of girls say, hey, I want to play volleyball, and I think it has to do with the Olympics this past summer, and it was a fun Olympics to watch.
It was, of course, and great volleyball from the United States men and women both. But when that happens and you get a nice bump like that, you find some gyms out there?
I have before. I'm still kind of waiting for those gyms to appear this year, but it's early, so.
All right, so early on into a volleyball season, I mean, I'm a football guy, so I know what happens in football early on. Early on in a volleyball season, what are you looking for? What are you trying to build upon? What are some of the early signs you've got a pretty good team?
You know, right now it's not really too early on. Volleyball season goes by quick. It's about 2 months long. We have 3 regular season games left. And if I can compare our first game to now, the improvement that we've made, the team chemistry that is just started to evolve has just been incredible. I have the best group of kids that I've had in a long time, and they make my job so much fun, and it's been a great season so far.
Yeah, and that's where I was going to go with that, is you get this initial feeling, and then you get to the middle of the season, you start to find out more about them, develop a personality as a team, and then you find out how things are going to finish. So how has that morphing process gone all along?
Well, I knew beginning of the season, I said, this team probably won't peak till the end of the season. Like, we're going to have some stepping stones on the way to the end of the season. My best player, my senior, Matea Hall, she's also an incredible basketball player. So during the summer, she had a few commitments she had to make with basketball. So we got her pretty late in preseason. So I knew just having her around and the more we played with her would just help develop. She's a great team leader and just really helps everyone step up their game because of the level of volleyball she plays.
How's your team been health-wise?
Pretty good. We had one of my middles went down with an ankle injury, and she took a few days off. And when I put her back on the court, I moved her to a different position that she's a senior and she hasn't played this position in her entire life, but she stepped up and she did it really well. And I think it was just kind of a blessing in disguise for what happened, and it helped our team, and she's enjoying it too.
All right, so how many times do people now approach you? And again, Olympics have something to do with this, and they don't understand the positioning and what's a libero and all that kind of thing, and you start to get questions about the sport, because most of us who grew up playing it, it's just, hey, you went out there and, oh, by the way, you're over there and you stand over there. We didn't learn the sport playing it.
Yeah, that happens a lot. I just try to keep it simple. At the end of the day, volleyball is about bump, set, spike. If you can do that better than the other team, then you're probably going to win.
Block and tackle, bump, set, spike.
Yeah.
I guess I get that. All right, so at this end of the year, you thought the team would peak. Do you feel like this is the best they've been so far?
I think it is, and chemistry is really well. And sometimes at the end of the season, teams will start to crumble.
Sure.
We play so many games, and it goes by so quickly. But they've really just rose to the occasion. Last week we played 10 games, so we had three season games and a tournament, and they were tired and they were worn out, but they said, you know, we're going to do our best out there, and they did, and they came out that week with a winning record, and so proud of them.
How do you manage that toward the end? You know you need to practice, you know you need to work, and you know they need to peak, but you also don't want to overwork them. Do you back off in practice? How do you do it?
I do, and I just kind of compare to when I played. I can tell when maybe they need a break, but Monday, I knew they were tired, but I told them, hey, we can't go into a Tuesday game without practicing, so if you can give me 100% the next 2 days, we're going to take today off, and they are excited to have a little day off.
You know, and when they're younger people, do you really see that bounce back after a day's rest like that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and they're good kids, so they take the recovery day pretty serious. They're not out doing anything crazy. They go to the training room, they ice their aches, and they take care of what they need to take care of.
Can you see that focus in their eye as you get toward playoff time?
I can, and they're a pretty mature team, so I expect some good things out of the playoffs this year.
And the expectations are one thing. You always make sure they don't want to peak too early, though. And I've asked a lot of coaches this through their careers, is you want this team to be excited, but you don't want them to go over the top. Do you have a recipe for that, or do you just kind of watch and see where they are?
I don't have a recipe. I just kind of fill it out, and I know my team, and they know me, and we just keep the energy positive each game. Really, we just take it game by game. So we're not even... We don't know where we're going for playoffs, so right now we're focusing on our next game. That is next week.
Yeah, that one game at a time thing goes across sports, doesn't it?
Yeah, and sometimes it's even point at a time. Like
what's
we got to go
what's
ahead.
the absolute best thing about your job right now?
It's an absolute blast. I love volleyball, and I've been an athlete my whole life, and now that I can't play competitively, it's fun to coach it and see the improvement that the girls have made. A lot of girls have come in and with no experience of volleyball, and then they're playing at a very high level at the end of their high school career, and that's a great thing to see.
I bet you still bump, set, and spike with them a little too, don't you?
A little bit, yeah.
Audra, thank you. Audra Estrada from Memorial High School, the head volleyball coach there. Back with more in a moment right here on Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Hey Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is facing off against one tough competitor, glass.
That's right, only glass bottles and jars are recyclable. Don't even think about sinking a drink in glass or mirror. Always good to empty your glass bottles and jars before recycling.
These two get it, emptying both bottles from far out, and they remove the lids. Score big by recycling your glass bottles and jars. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
I feel like athletics is so important at Tulsa Central because it's an outlet for some of our kids there. They get a better opportunity to basically give back to our community.
At McLain, the sports is what mainly drives a bunch of the students to come to school every single day and work hard because they want to be able to come from the classroom to the field or the court and show at what they're good at.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics. Once again, I'm your host, Rick Couri, and I'm joined by an official from the OSSAA. This is Jara McCoy, and when I say official for the OSSAA, that could mean a lot of things, but you actually, well, I didn't want to say throw flags, but you call fouls and things like that.
Yes, absolutely. I sit on staff for Tulsa Officials of Oklahoma, and we primarily service Tulsa Public School games.
Right, so in other words, you know somebody else I know by the name of Ethan Rowland?
Yes, I've known Ethan Rowland for years.
Well, I don't know whether to congratulate you or apologize, but we'll just move right on from there. Now, one of the things Ethan and I talk about when I visit with him, which is quite often actually, is about numbers and officials. And they fluctuated. They've been very down and up and then down again. What are things running right about now?
I think the numbers are about a third down from what the norm is. So we're, quite a few officials down. We're kind of hurting in that sect, and yes.
Is that just one sport? Is that across sports?
That's across the sports and across the board and really across the nation.
Why do you think that's happening?
I think for several different reasons. One is kind of the abuse that officials take, from the parents, to the kids in the stands, kids on the floor, coaching staff sometimes. A lot of people, just don't want to put up with the abuse that they have to take. And
yeah, we'll get to why you put up with it in a minute. But one of the things you said is interesting to me is I think people probably get this wrong, and that is that really you probably get less abuse from the players on the floor than you do anybody else.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's true. They know we're out there working hard in most instances. They've seen us over the years. Mm-hmm. We built a rapport with the kids, which is our number one reason for being there. And they know that we're, going to try to get it right for the most part. So.
Why did you want to become an official in the first place? Because all the stuff you just talked about, you kind of probably knew was there.
I took an officiating class in college. I'm not sure how I got into the class or why I took it. At first it becomes just a little fuel money to get through college. And then it's, grocery money. And then it just advances from there to a point where it's not about money at all. It's just the love of the game.
Yeah, you officiate basketball and volleyball?
Yes, that's correct.
So you're getting a lot of exercise in basketball, running up and down the floor. The players have gotten faster running up and down the floor. Right. How in the world do you stay in shape for it?
We are tasked to stay in shape mentally and physically all summer long through study courses that are, our group offers, and, reading, camps and clinics. My immediate group of officials that I kind of hang out with, believe it or not, we hang out, on the weekends, and we ride bikes, and, we sign up for races, and I do a lot of hot yoga, just do a lot of stuff to try to stay in the game mentally and physically.
Yeah, because we get older, but the players don't.
No, exactly. Every year they get faster and better and smarter.
Have you found the game becoming faster?
Absolutely. Yeah. Back in the day, you would have one or two good players on the team. Now you have, 5 or maybe even 6 or 7, with the deeper the benches are. And the opportunity for the kids to go to summer camps and team camps to hone their craft as well. So.
What's the hardest thing to learn when you're trying to transition from one sport to another that you particularly maybe wasn't your sport growing up? So for you, you got volleyball here. So
Yes.
you know that's kind of maybe a secondary sport for you.
Yes.
How do you dive in to learn everything?
You know, just try to reach out to people who know more than you do. Go to their camps and clinics that are offered. Jump in, be humble to get in there and to learn. Volleyball is totally different. The etiquette of that versus basketball, you know, there's it's a little more gentle and calm with volleyball and their fans. Basketball is totally different.
Yes, yes.
So in a way, it was a nice change to see that etiquette, but also very difficult because we didn't have volleyball when I grew up in high school. So learning their rules and when to apply them correctly is, that became the hardest task to learn.
So because there is a shortage, a continuing shortage of officials, what would you say to someone who might be watching who's considering, well, maybe I might want to do something along those? How would you sell it?
I would sell it as the brotherhood and the camaraderie that comes with officiating. It's unbelievable. It's like none other. We always encourage kids just finishing high school, going into college. You can make a little extra money, and we'll take you under our wing. We'll train you. We don't get paid anything extra for that, but it's really cool to watch them grow and become a better official. It just doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
So just encouraging them to still stay in the game that they love, get exercise, and make a little money.
How would people get a hold of the officiating group if they want to become one?
You can. We're all probably on Facebook, I would imagine. I'm Jara McCoy. You can look me up. We've got our phone numbers listed. Tulsa Officials of Oklahoma. Reach out to us. We'd love to have you, mentor you, train you. We'd be happy to do that.
All right, that is Jara McCoy from Official. She's one of the officials for OSSAA, and they need you. Back with more right here next on Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Thank you.
Hey, Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is looking to defend their title against aluminum and steel cans.
Bob, most people think of the kitchen for this opponent, but aluminum and steel cans, like empty shaving cream cans, also play extremely well in bathrooms all over Tulsa. That was nothing but bin, Bob.
Wow, right into the bin. Team Johnson has buttoned up another win. Score big by recycling your aluminum and steel cans. Learn more at tulsarecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Nathan Hales means that you have to be consistent, outgoing, and be dedicated because students at Nathan Hale look up to the football team.
Being an athlete at Nathan Hale has taught me to be confident and disciplined and always to be open-minded and always ready to work with people no matter how difficult it is.
We're back here on Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm your host, Rick Couri, and now the big boss is here. We have to all straighten up and sit right at the table. The Assistant Superintendent for TPS is here. That is Dr. Kathy Dodd. I happen to know Dr. Dodd from some of her previous lives in academics and athletics, for that matter. Welcome in. Thank you very much. We did all straighten up just a little bit. It's nice to have you.
Thank you. Nice to be in your presence, Rick.
Oh, that's funny. All right, now, you have a history at other districts.
Yes.
Why Tulsa Public Schools? Why come here?
I think this is where we make the biggest difference for the city of Tulsa. And so I'm at a point in my career where that's my focus. I want to make the biggest difference for the most students who are in the biggest need. And I think that the way TPS goes in our community really makes a difference on how our city is successful in all of its endeavors. So I'm proud to be part of Dr. Johnson's new leadership team, and I'm proud to be working directly with athletics.
When you dig into something like that and that becomes part of your purview, where do you start? What do you do? Who do you go talk to?
Well, you start with the people who are serving kids every day, and you learn the assets that they have and the challenges that they've faced. And really, the best thing I've done is lean into our district athletic department and working with Mick and Crystal and just listening and asking them, if you had a magic wand, what would you hope to be true for Tulsa Public Schools? And how do you see your role as directors of athletics impacting student achievement and student attendance? and the pride that our community and our students have about their school. And they know, and I know, and you do too, that our athletics and fine arts plays a big role in how we're perceived as schools and districts. And so we're looking at ways that we can better resource them and better equip them so that their time is spent pouring into our kids.
Well, and to the point there, I've seen those numbers too, that when kids participate in those things, they show up more, they're more involved, and they tend to get involved in other areas of school too, don't they?
Absolutely, and we see it directly in attendance, but we see it in their grades because, of course, they have to stay eligible. But when they're taking care of that business because their love might be band or football, then they're seeing that they can develop those habits that serve them on the field in the classroom. And so when they're on top of their courses, then it's easier to stay on top of it. It's when students sometimes they don't have a reason to keep their grades up, and then they can look at that percentage and they think, my goodness, if I do every assignment from here on out, I'm still not going to be able to make it, to pass the class. But when they're involved in athletics and fine arts and a lot of school activities, it's that incentive, extra incentive that some of our students need in order to stay eligible.
By the way, she mentioned band. Shout out to all you band parents, because those people work as hard or harder than anybody else in athletics, fine arts, or anything else.
100%. And it's really another thing about the parents pouring into that structure and that commitment. Yeah. That's what the kids are learning is, how to set a goal, how to be responsible not only to yourself, but responsible to your teammates. And I played in the band. I went to a very small school, Rick, where I graduated from. I think 40 were in my graduating class. So you had to be in band, and I played basketball, I was a cheerleader, I ran track, you had to be in student council and beta club and all of those things. But when I look at what skill set I rely on every day, those are really built in the gym and on the field and on the court. And so our kids are getting so many skills beyond, even if I didn't do any of those sports after high school, but those skills that I learned in those sports from my coaches, from my teammates, are the same skills I rely on every day.
What are the biggest challenges right now?
I think funding, making dedicated funding streams for our students, removing barriers for them participating in athletics. In some cases, we haven't utilized our bond fund. We've done great work around our facilities, but we haven't been maybe as strategic in the past about utilizing that to buy the equipment and buy the uniforms and do everything we can do out of the bond to drive down the cost that a parent might face. So we really want our coaches to spend their time with students, working on those structures, working on their skill set, building character. We don't want them fundraising. And so one easy way we see to do that is to think differently about our current bond. We're at the end of a bond cycle, and then we have a great opportunity right in front of us for this upcoming bond to put dedicated funds toward athletics, not just for facilities, but for the important equipment and uniforms and all of the extra things that make that sport possible.
And outlying schools learned that a long time ago.
Yes, it's taking a page from the success that we've seen. You mentioned I've worked in other districts, Union most recently, and it's an art and a science as to how you build strong programs. Yep. And I think that both of those things, making sure that we're doing whatever we can as a district to attract the talented coaches who are willing to give so much of their time in order, again, to not only make great athletes, but to make great humans. And so we appreciate that. We're trying to create that environment that would make them want to pick TPS.
And that, of course, is one of the bigger things you guys have on your plate every day for everything, not just athletics, right?
Oh, yes. I mean, we're looking for teachers, of course, paraprofessionals. Shout out to our team. Go to www.tulsaschools.org, and you can click on our HR page, and you can see all of the ways that parents can be part of Team Tulsa. And parents can have the same schedule in many cases. If they're working in the building, they can have the same schedule as their students. So we want the parents and our community members to take a look at what we have to offer.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Thanks very much, Dr. Dodd. I appreciate you being up. That is Dr. Kathy Dodd. She's the Deputy Superintendent at Tulsa Public Schools. I'm Rick Couri. We'll be back with more of Inside Tulsa Athletics next.
Hey Tulsa, we have a crushing recycle play of the day for you. Team Johnson versus paper and cardboard.
They're starting off slow today, probably trying to figure out what to do with those styrofoam plates, since they're not recyclable.
There's the big play we were waiting for. Boom! Completely empty cardboard boxes dunked in the cart. Score big by recycling your cardboard and paper. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
I love Will Rogers Athletics because it helped me physically, spiritually, and emotionally through all the journeys I've been through at that school. All of the support staff helped me a lot, and it's just an amazing school.
Athletics at Will Rogers changed my life because it became a second family. With the support of my coaches and teammates, it's helped me gain confidence, work as a team, and will help me in college and in life.
We're back on Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm Rick Couri, your host, and we're joined by the boss himself. That is Tulsa Public Schools Athletic Director Mick Wilson. I say the boss. We had Dr. Dodd here, and she's actually the boss too.
Yeah, she's one of the real bosses.
Yeah.
You know, I guess I would be an underboss maybe if we're in the criminal world, right? The underboss.
He's a lieutenant.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, we've been waiting here a little bit because Kathy's outside taking the attention of all the tech people out there because she's still working to get money here.
She is all about anything that's programming around students, and it's a great opportunity, and we're thankful for that. This new philosophy with her and Dr. Johnson, it's going to be like Christmas time. We're going to get to reach out and do some things that maybe we've always wanted to do and haven't been able to, but we're going to get there, Rick, and we've got great support all across the board, and it's going to be some good times as we try to start moving the needle on athletics in our district.
And to be honest, I mean, you said Christmas, but really all you're trying to do is kind of level the playing field again and get back to where you really need to be.
No question. Again, our facilities, we've come a long way. There's still some hurdles that we'd like to overcome to make those better. But I think the bulk of it is just the daily supplies, the uniforms, the transportation, some of those things where we can do better. And I think that's where we're going to take this next bond, and some of the things we're going to focus on, things that directly impact students day to day.
Well, and having said that you still have to have a list, right? Of, okay, number one, this is most important, then this, and this. How in the world do you build that?
Well, that's what it's funny you bring it up because just prior to me getting here today, that's what we've been doing. Dr. Dodd has challenged us to start assembling those lists, kind of performing a triage, so to speak, of what's most important to the least important, and anything's on the table, Rick, from uniforms to sports medicine equipment, so that we're able to treat our kids better. We've talked about anything from programming, technology, all those things. So we're going to make our push, and I think with Dr. Dodd guiding us and Dr. Johnson as well, that we're going to be able to get there.
That's got to be exciting, but at the same time, you're like, I want it to be now. I want it to be now. I want it to be now. You got to have a little hold back, but it's going to be exciting.
We do, and our school board has been so good to us and allowing us to make some of these pushes. But again, the taxpayers of the city of Tulsa will have to show up and really help us do that and help us recognize those needs and address those needs. And they have in the past when it comes to facilities. And so we're hoping that they'll continue down that road of allowing us to be good stewards of the dollars that they trust us and be able to take care of our kids in Tulsa,
yeah,
the city of Tulsa.
As we pointed out, every time those kids are involved in those activities, they do better in school, they stay in school, they don't have the same kinds of problems, they just become better citizens.
They're engaged at school for a lot of reasons, and I don't mean this as a slight to anything that we're doing on the education side, but sometimes with our kids that are involved in athletics, if they know that there's going to be Friday night lights, they're excited. They may not be excited always, Rick, about showing up to take their Algebra 1 test, but they do get excited about the opportunities that athletics bring in programming, and not just athletics, but anything across the board. Our kids get excited to show up and be a part of something.
I couldn't even spell algebra, let alone do it when I was in school, so I get what you're saying there.
Absolutely.
I know one of the things, and we're talking a lot of football because district play is about to start, but we got there in a hurry, didn't we?
We did.
And people right now are thinking, yeah, it's still football, but that can't be your focus. Your focus always has to be on what's next. So what's next?
Well, and it's funny you bring that up because that is kind of from our office what we're always trying to do is be one step ahead of all the folks that are out in the buildings doing the real work, so to speak. But spending time right now on getting ready for basketball. And through that, probably the biggest endeavor we have in Tulsa Public Schools is the Tournament of Champions. And, through our Sydney partnership with the City of Tulsa, through the Tulsa Sports Commission. I mean, there's so many people that help us lift this event up. And then the great support of the BOK Center staff and now the Oakview Group. They've been so good to us throughout the years, and we're going to continue. But the big thing is we're going to be on the grand stage, and so we have to make sure that we put a good product in place so that people will come and buy tickets and be a part of such a great event.
Now, once you do an event like the Tournament of Champions, which has been around a long time, it does become easier. But then still every year you have to go back to that step one, step two. How early do you start?
Well, we've started actually back in the summer with just some of the smaller lifts, but as this thing gets closer, some of the heavy lifts now are starting to take place as far as housing teams, transportation. Moving the event to the venue when it's not really our venue. So some things like that. Again, trying to identify some of the things that the teams are going to need while they're here, coordinating those things. I've already had coaches start reaching out. So there's a lot of moving parts. We've got a great staff that help us with this. And again, the City of Tulsa, the folks at the BOK Center are outstanding, and we're going to continue to lean on them to help put this event together.
Do you have basically a template for it so you kind of know what to build?
I think the template's in my mind. Everyone says, Mick, if you ever write this down, if you ever leave, we're going to be in trouble because you've got it all upstairs. But we do. We've got a lot of things in writing. But moving forward, it probably would be good for me, Rick, to put some of this in writing because we do it, and we've been doing it so long. We've got a lot of good people that help us. And again, I think the big thing, Rick, too, with putting on such a great event is trying to make sure it's not stale.
Yes.
We want the event to be inviting each time. So again, putting some things together that will be new and innovative each year is definitely on our radar.
Into that night, you go home and kick back and have yourself a nice diet soda?
No, I just go one block down and stay at the DoubleTree downtown and then go back to work because I get out of there so late.
I know what you're talking about
yes,
right there.
Do.
Mick, thanks very much.
Rick.
The Athletic Director of Tulsa Public Schools is Mick Wilson. Back to close it up here in a little bit on Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Hey Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is facing off against a tough competitor, plastic.
Don't trust those numbers on the bottom. You have to stick to what you know. Only bottles and jugs found in the kitchen, bath, or laundry. They're quick to pick up. And empty those bottles before sinking that shot.
Always empty your bottles before recycling. Score big by recycling your plastic bottles and jugs. Learn more at tulsarecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Edison High School has taught me to work as a team rather than as an individual. Whenever you're on a team, you have a special bond with each other. You know you can rely on them in a time of need, whether on or off the court. Whether it be a shoulder to cry on or advice on how you can improve, you know your team will always be there for you.
Well, that's it for another Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm Rick Couri, your host, and we want to remind you it's that time of year when, although football still seems new, district play is about to start. We're actually nearing halfway point through the season. Volleyball is about to wrap up, and many things are ramping up, and that would be things like basketball, not that far from the Tournament of Champions. Our goal here is for you to do what many people through the years have done, and that is support Tulsa Public Schools Athletics. Get yourself out to a game, enjoy the weather, and we'll see you again next time on Inside Tulsa Athletics.